Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder how your brain can still manage to say what you want it to say, even when something's making it harder to speak? Well, this new study is all about that, and it has some fascinating findings about how we adapt. Imagine trying to talk when something is physically blocking your jaw from moving normally. You'd probably think your brain would instantly find a way to adjust, right? For years, scientists have used a simple trick to study this, the bite block. It's a small device that makes speakers hold their jaw in a fixed position. The big question has been, do speakers completely fix this problem right away, or do they get better over time? This research dives deep into that, using a really large group of people to get some clear answers. So here is the story. For a long time, some studies suggested that when you put a bite block in, people's speech sounds almost exactly the same. It was like their mouths just automatically figured it out, using their tongue differently to make up for the fixed jaw. This led to some cool ideas about how our speech system is super flexible and kind of self-correcting, but then other studies started showing that maybe people weren't fully fixing it right away. They found that the sound of the vowels changed a bit, and that maybe it took some time or listening to yourself to get it right. And here is where this current study really jumps in. They noticed that a lot of these previous studies used only a handful of people, like fewer than 10. That is not a lot. So they asked if those small groups were just too small to really see what was going on. They decided to use a much bigger group, 55 people, to get a clearer picture. Plus, they added a twist. They played loud masking noise in people's ears. This was super important because it meant the participants couldn't rely on hearing themselves to adjust. They had to find a way to compensate using just the feeling in their mouth or whatever other internal signals they had. So what did they do? Basically, they had people say a few specific words with different vowel sounds. First, they recorded them talking normally without anything in their mouths. This was their baseline. Then they had them put in a bite block. They used two different sizes of bite blocks, one small and one large, to see if that made a difference. And remember, while they were talking with the bite block, they had loud noise playing in their ears so they couldn't hear themselves. They recorded their speech and then analyzed the actual sound waves, looking closely at how the vowels were produced. Now for the really interesting part, the results. First, they checked if people immediately compensated for the bite block. Remember, they couldn't hear themselves, so it was all about physical adjustment. And guess what? They found that compensation was incomplete. Even from the very first word spoken with the bite block, the vowel sounds were different from their normal talking. Think of vowel sounds like they're made by the shape of your mouth. The bite block changed that shape, and the people's mouths didn't fully correct for it instantly. The sounds were still understandable, sure, but the precise acoustic qualities of the vowels were off. This happened for almost all the vowel sounds they tested. So they immediately showed that people couldn't perfectly fix their speech sounds just by feeling it when they couldn't hear themselves. This is a big deal because it challenges those older ideas that our mouths are just automatically perfect. And because they had such a large group, they could show this clearly, whereas smaller studies might have missed it. But here is the other crucial part of the study. If people couldn't fix it right away, could they get better over time even without hearing themselves? They looked at people's speech during the bite block task, comparing the first words to the last words they said. And again, the answer was pretty clear. No, they didn't really get any better. Even after many tries, their vowel sounds didn't move much closer to how they sounded normally. This strongly suggests that hearing yourself or auditory feedback is super important for fine.